Hello, my name is Everett Abrams and I'm the Wizard of Wood. And today I want to talk to you about cedar. Cedar is a beautiful wood. It's a soft wood. It has a lot of great applications from indoor furniture to exterior wood siding, decks, fencing, and so forth. It is a little bit troublesome to restore the wood or care for the wood in regards to it being so soft. And we want to talk about that a little bit. First of all, cedar has like an orangey tint. It has a nice natural tone and color. It is naturally resistant to rot and decay. It has some natural characteristics in it. That doesn't mean it's not going to rot and decay. It's resistant to rot and decay. And it's a soft wood. It's one of the softest that we're going to deal with in the exterior restoration. So we'll talk a little bit about that today. The first thing I wanted to mention though is, since I talked about the tone of cedar, cedar already has a natural beauty to it, that orangey tint. Okay, the tannins in wood give it its pigmentation and color, and in cedar it gives that beautiful color. So what happens is, a lot of times people will get cedar, they run out and they say, okay, I gotta buy cedar sealer or cedar stain. And then they apply it to the cedar wood and they get this orangey, real unnatural look. And they say, I didn't want it that orange, because you already have a nice orangey look. A nice natural or a light tinted tone on the cedar is usually perfect, and it makes it look really beautiful. Now, in regards to taking care of the cedar, it doesn't take much to restore the wood as far as pressure and so forth. So when we're using a pressure washer, we're looking at something like 300 to 600 PSI. I try not to go over 1,000 PSI on any type of wood surface. But cedar is very soft, so we want it just a minimal amount. It could also be done with a garden hose and brushes or scrubbing. Sanding, wood blasting, or media blasting. There's other ways to restore the cedar, but it can be done with a pressure washer if done correctly. There's a lot of people that recommend not using a pressure washer on cedar because of the damage that's done to cedar. It's because people are not educated on how to use the pressure washer for cedar. So just from my tip from the Wizard of Wood, if we're using a pressure washer, I always use a 40-degree tip. It's a white tip, and you can get larger orifice sizes to actually reduce the pressure depending on the pressure washer you have, but always a 40-degree tip. And you want to stay about 6 to 12 inches away from the wood. That further also reduces the pressure, surface pressure. And all we're really going to do is rinse off the cleaner or the stripper that we're putting on the wood. You don't want to use just water and pressure. Water pressure doesn't clean. If you were cleaning your clothes, you would not just throw them in the washer and wash them, you put in soap. So the same thing here. If we're going to restore the wood and we're just cleaning the wood to recoat or to coat, then we use a wood cleaner. And there's different wood cleaners, not the topic of this video. We also would strip, possibly. If we're taking off an old coating or a failed coating, we would strip the wood. If we're using a stripper, we also use that. So it's an aid of a cleaner or a stripper that we're going to apply to the wood. Now, we only put it on for what we call a dwell time, and the dwell time is as long as it takes to work. In other words, we want that to lift or melt off the finish or lift up the mold, mildew, and algae so that it's a light rinse and we can get away with that 300 to 600 PSI. So look into your cleaners and your strippers, which would be more effective. Use 300 to 600 PSI. When we get to the wood surface, whether it is siding or a deck, we want to have a pendulum motion where we're coming up on both ends on each side, and then we work across the wood. If we come up on each side, we won't leave any marks or scarring in the wood. Same thing with siding. We start out here with the water running. We come into the wood, and it's pendulum motion up on each side. Okay? Don't want to stop and start on the wood. That will leave marks and scarring. That's how you would professionally restore your cedar. Then once you do that, then you can apply your sealer or stain that you choose to apply to it. But again, if you're looking to restore your cedar more naturally to that natural tone, don't put a cedar tone or a cedar stain on cedar wood. If you have a pressure treated pine deck, say, that's where you would put the cedar stain to make it look like cedar. But putting cedar on cedar usually gives you an unnatural orange tone. Anyway, to summarize about cedar, naturally resistant to rot and decay, good alternative for decking as far as wood decking, a little more expensive than your pressure treated. You'll see a lot on cedar siding, on cedar fencing. It is easy to gouge. It's a very soft wood. It takes really good technique. Allow your cleaners or your strippers to do the work when you're working on the wood, and then it's just a light rinse. Allow that to dry usually for about 48 hours, depending on what type of stain or sealer you're going to apply to the cedar, and then have at it, and you'll restore your wood to a beautiful tone and color. That's my tip on cedar, and hopefully that helps you with your next project. I'm the Wizard of Wood. Check me out on Facebook, Wizard of Wood, or the YouTube channel for the Wizard of Wood, and you'll see other tips and tricks that we have there.